Right, so I decided to record a video about just a little social commentary. People need to stop in the news and in real life, being so shocked about stuff. There were a few news stories. The NAACP came out and condemned the inherent racism in the Tea Party movement. And the Tea Party responded saying that the NAACP was racist on CNN. And we have to stop being surprised when people show us their true faces. The idea that the NAACP is racist, it's inherently focused on advancing the needs of colored people. So I would say a race-based organization probably is going to have some element of racism, but it's really more of a lifting up of one race rather than the subjugation of another. So it just kind of blew my mind. And when Republicans, Jon Kyl and others are talking about tax cutting taxes, making the Bush tax cuts permanent, but then not, offsetting them somewhere else, and not heeding criticism that, tax cuts when we're in huge deficits is not a good idea. And Jon Kyl's response was that we didn't need to pay for it. And people shouldn't be surprised about that. The Republican Party of the last 10 or 15 years is one that has really lost touch with its roots, with, balancing the budget. They want to balance the budget as long as balancing the budget includes tax cuts for wealthy Americans and no sizable reduction in military and Pentagon spending. So we should no longer be surprised when they say these kinds of things. And when financial reform came up for a vote, and only 3 Republicans, the 2 fine ladies of Maine and Scott Brown, voted, we shouldn't be surprised. We shouldn't be surprised that they're against regulation on Wall Street and big banks. And even that is... the current legislation that just passed isn't even that strong. Many people say it won't prevent the next catastrophe. It's simply a Band-Aid after open heart surgery, if you will. It's like taking away ice cream from a, patient who's had a quadruple bypass, nearly died, taking their ice cream away, but they're still eating bacon and eggs every morning for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I mean, it's really kind of how the financial reform worked. And news broke yesterday that Tim Geithner, someone who was brought in and really operated the entire administration and federal financial institutions like the, financial insider that he is, he opposes the nomination of Elizabeth Warren to our Consumer Protection Agency. Basically worried that she's going to be too strong for consumers, that her interests aren't aligned well enough with kind of his vision for how private banking and federal regulatory oversight should work. And we shouldn't be surprised at this. That somebody who has so many ties to Wall Street and so many people working for him that do, that he would oppose somebody who's going to stand up for consumers. Let's be perfectly honest that banks are not going to, lose their footing because of additional regulations on derivatives or proprietary trading. But people in the real world with mortgages and credit cards are going to, lose their homes or ruin their credit when, their mortgage balloons or their credit card rates jump 10% and they get slammed with, all these overages. There are real world consequences, so we shouldn't be surprised when somebody like Elizabeth Warren encounters resistance, and we should support her. But, I'm not sure. I think I may be becoming more cynical, but I'm starting to not feel as surprised when people report, good news or bad news. I think, well, isn't that what we expected? I mean, I understand that we're reporting on it on a factual basis, but people get worked up about it, and it's like, what were you expecting? And have you not been watching lately? It's like BP capped the oil spill, and I wrote on Facebook and Twitter. I said, BP has massively screwed this up every step of the way, so I'm cautiously optimistic. It'd be great if it worked, but if I were to hear news reports that some undersea, part of the well had buckled and it was flowing again, or they had to remove the cap because it was not functioning correctly, I wouldn't be surprised. So, just, it's easy to get kind of heated up over a bunch of stuff, but you really shouldn't be that surprised about it.